After spending more than 4,000 resin on the new 3.6 artifact domain and obtaining some decent artifact pieces, I cannot in good faith recommend farming this domain with your resin unless you're playing one of the few characters who can benefit from these new artifacts, who even then will have some problems that I will talk about in a moment. But how did I get to this conclusion? Well, in this video, I am going to showcase all the characters who can utilize these new artifact sets, while at the same time explain some sneaky things about these new sets that you might have not expected to know about. But first, this video is sponsored by Dislight, a turn-based mobile RPG set in future cities with insane audio-visual experience. Dislight is inhabited by Espers with ancient powers. Collect them to build and develop your own Esper squad and fight together with other players around the world to defeat the forces of darkness. And right now, Dislight has released two new Espers, the twin sisters Leora and Elaine. Leora possesses the divinity of Athena, and Elaine possesses the power of Nyx. I honestly love the clashing look of light and dark between these sisters, and I can't wait to obtain them. In fact, there's an exclusive event happening right now, in which players get to control Athena and venture deep into the labyrinth-like world, where you will get to uncover the mysterious story of the two new characters and receive generous in-game rewards, one of them being Nyx herself. So you can literally obtain a 5-star hero for free by just doing this event. So make sure to download the game by using my link in the description or use the QR code on the screen and use promo code Dusk and Dawn to obtain massive rewards. More importantly, you'll also help support my channel, so check out Dislight now. So let's first start with the new Hydro set, Nymphs Dream. Even after burning thousands of resin, I think I ended up with only an okay loadout. There's a good spread of EM, attack, some ER, and then mostly crit damage, but nothing outstanding. Now, just to simplify how this set works, it's basically identical to the Polar Star bow, so when a character hits the enemy with their normal charge, plunge, skill, or burst attack, they will gain 1 stack of a buff that can go up to 3 stacks. This is clearly designed for an on-field Hydro damage dealer, and truth be told, we only have few of them. Sure, you could give this set to Xingqiu in a national team, and then during the quick swap after switching to him, you can build up the 3 stacks easily, but honestly, Emblem of Sever Fate is still better on him just because of his energy recharge needs. So who is this set for? Well, there's only 2 candidates, Child and Ayato. By equipping Mr. Kamisato with Nymphs Dream, I immediately noticed a problem. Because his burst snapshots, the buff won't really work until the second rotation. You see, in most rotations, you start with Kamisato doing the burst so that he can absorb as many particles as he can before the cooldown is over. So essentially, the burst won't gain a single stack. While using the skill, yeah, he will have 3 stacks. Although if his water clone doesn't hit an enemy, then you'll be down to 2 stacks since the slashes are counted as normal attacks. Still, after his burst is almost over, if the other 2 stacks from using the skill haven't expired within 8 seconds, then the next time he activates the burst, it will snapshot all 3 stacks, which is great, right? Well, the thing is, while the buff is pretty big, Ayato's burst deals pretty mediocre damage due to low multipliers, even if it can potentially hit one target more than 12 times. But the problem here is that using something like Gladiators or Heart of Depth is just simply easier and better in a lot of scenarios, since using his flash attacks does make up a good chunk of his overall damage. So I think that while you can use this set on him, it's going to be clunky if you want to fully utilize it, and there are just better options out there. Now, on the other hand, Child absolutely loves this new set. One of the biggest problems with Heart of Depth is that it doesn't help increase Child's burst damage. Well, I mean, the 2-set bonus provides Hydro damage, but still, Child's burst has one of the best multipliers in the game, and a lot of people use his burst for speedrunning the Abyss, since it can hit for so much. So as you can imagine, Nymphs Dream is a pretty sweet deal for him. I mean, just look at this showcase. Nymphs Dream can boost his burst damage from anywhere between 6 to 20% damage increase. Like here, he deals 480,000 damage with the new set, while with Heart of Depth, it can only go up as high as 420,000 damage. And it's not just his burst damage that's getting boosted. It's a universal buff. It basically lets him enjoy extra 25% attack and 50% Hydro damage on top of the 2-set bonus. And the best part is that gaining all 3 stacks is super easy. Just stand close to the enemy when activating the skill and then hold down the attack so he can do both normal and charge attack, earning all 3 stacks in a super fast way. Also, you can quickly gain 2 stacks by doing his aim shot cancel, since it counts both as normal and charge attack. Still, while this is the new best in slot set for Child, you will need to spend resin unlike with Heart of Depth, which you can acquire from the Artifact Strongbox, which honestly is kind of a big deal. So I would only go for this set if you're constantly playing with Child and want to see his overall damage improve. Otherwise, the 2-piece from Nymphs is a great generic upgrade for any Hydro damage dealer. But yeah, I feel like this set alone defines the domain, but we still need to take a look at the other one as well. If you're like me and thought Vorkasha's Glow is going to save Dia, then I've got bad news. Now, I think I ended up with pretty decent rolls on this new set, gaining 100 EM just from substats so I can enable Vape or Melt Dia, as well as obtaining good amount of critical value from both damage and crit. But even then, I can immediately tell you that the biggest flaw this set has is that you will need to fish for energy recharge stats, so that Dia can activate her burst off cooldown. Like, without buffs and by just comparing raw damage alone, yeah, this set is better than Emblem of Severed Fate, which is what the majority of Dia mains are using for burst Dia. The damage improvement fluctuates between 8 to 12% depending on many different situations, and keep in mind, both of these sets I'm showcasing have pretty similar stat distribution. Still, the fact Dia has massive energy issues simply makes this set not worth it to farm for, unless you obtain a lot of energy recharge from substats and also have other teammates equipped with Favonius weapons, or feed her with pyro particles from someone like Benny. Essentially, if you're playing her in mono pyro, then it's a pretty good set. But also, I kind of forgot that C0 Dia actually scales really bad with HP, even if both her skill and burst have the HP multiplier. These HP multipliers are laughably small, however her C1 does improve the situation, which I would say then this set with energy recharge rolls could start competing with Emblem 4 set, but to actually become her best in slot, you will need to unlock her 4th constellation to fix her energy issues. So yeah, while Vorokasha's Glow can provide decent damage increase for Dia, at C0 it's not worth farming for, and it only becomes her best in slot when she's C4, which is a shame, and I feel like this is yet another painful slap in the face to those who simply want to enjoy Dia without spending money. I guess since she's in the standard pool means you can get her to C4 eventually, but hey, look on the bright side, Emblem set is still pretty good with all things considered, and I will personally continue using it on her, until I lose my 50/50s and get her 4 times. Also, one thing to remember here is that I have been talking about Burst Dia here. I know some people prefer playing her as a support instead, so in that case, this new set is completely irrelevant for her, and going with a Tenacity 4 set is a much better choice. But moving forward, is Vorokasha's Glow good for anyone else? Well, the 4 set is only really relevant for Dia, but with some exceptions, Nilo can also use it. However, the majority of her team's damage is Bountiful Blooms, and boosting her skill and burst damage in a regular Bloom team isn't worth it, even if she can be hit by a lot of exploding booms and maintain the 4 set stacks. However, the 2 set bonus is really good for Nilo. In fact, Tenacity and Vorokasha's double 2 set is the new way to build Nilo, unless you have the Key of Kaj Nizud and have already achieved 74.4k HP, since that's the limit she reaches with her passive, which boosts everyone's Bountiful Bloom damage based on her health. But yeah, if you do decide to spend Resin on this domain and your Nilo has below 74,000 HP, you could go here and try your luck finding 2 decent pieces with good HP substats. All in all, I have to say I'm pretty disappointed with this new domain. I feel like we're subject to yet another Hoyoverse shenanigans, where they give us stuff that hasn't reached its full potential yet. I am of course talking about the Fontaine region, because since it's the Hydro Nation, we're probably gonna get a fair bit of new Hydro characters, and perhaps some of them will be like Child, who are good on-field damage dealers, and can easily stack up the buff from the Nymphs 4 set. But as for Vorokasha's Glow, I don't know, I feel like this is probably the first 4 set that's specifically designed to only work well if you have the right constellation. I mean, sure, even at C0, Dia gains better damage with this than something like Emblem or even Crimson Witch, but at the same time, anyone who plays her know that she has serious energy issues. So unless you find a lot of the new set pieces with high ER substats, it's not gonna be good until at least you have C1 Dia, which then it becomes more forgiving to have energy recharge substats, since they are taking up the place of another offensive substat you could go for otherwise. Ultimately, I think this domain is actually good if you just farm for the 2 set pieces of the new artifacts. Extra Hydro damage is a great general upgrade for Yelan, Xingqiu, Child, and Ayato, provided as long as you don't have the good forces they can actually be equipped with, and the same can be said about Vorokasha's Glow. The 20% HP from 2 set is actually really good for a lot of healers and shielders who scale off from health, while for Nilo, it's one of the best upgrades to go for if you're building her Bloom teams, as long as you haven't reached her passive buff's HP cap, which, believe me, it's not an easy thing to do even when you have the Key Sword. But in the end, I still don't recommend spending tons of resin on this new domain. It's simply not worth it right now. Unless you're a hardcore Child main and want that extra damage boost, then yeah, go for it. Otherwise, we'll need to see what new characters come out in the future, because I want to believe this domain might become resin efficient when more new Hydro or HP scaling characters come out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate if you could check out today's sponsor and press the like button to help me out. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.